Hi, I'm Sabrina from Wirecutter.
I'm Tim from Wirecutter.
And today we are here to talk about why this Dyson humidifier isn't all that it's cracked up to be.
This is the Dyson AM10 Humidifier.
Why is this the most hyped humidifier?
I think just to begin with, like most of their products, it looks fantastic. It shares that design aesthetic with their room fans and their heaters and their air purifiers. And sort of like Apple, people really buy into that aesthetic, really like it. They also talk, a fair bit about the combination of the fan and the humidifier. That is quite unique. It can function just as a fan on its own, and that's a legit dual purpose. But, the suggestion is that the fan makes it humidify a room better and more evenly. And we tested that, and it simply did not prove to be the case at all.
Oh, really? Okay. Is it a good humidifier?
It is a good humidifier in terms of its ability to put moisture into the air. It is not a good humidifier in terms of being easy to live with.
What does that look like?
Living with a humidifier means interacting with it physically on a daily basis because you have to continuously refill the tank. And then if you're really taking care, you're also cleaning it fairly thoroughly, at least once a week, and very thoroughly about once a month. The thing you'll do more than anything else is refill the tank of water. To do that on the Dyson, you have to pop off this loop. You then have to take this off. You bring it over to your sink to refill it. And this really is where the problems begin to crop up. This is the little cap that lets you fill the tank. And as you can see, this fill hole is small. I mean, I can get one finger through it, right?
It's tiny.
But when you bring this over to the sink, you now basically have to get the water aimed right down in this little hole there. And you're doing that at the same time that you have to hold this fairly awkwardly shaped tank. And you have to do that because it really doesn't want to sit flat. You can balance it, but one little tip.
Yeah, it's shaped like a little bridge.
Exactly, yeah.
Well, so something I know about humidifiers is that you have to clean them often and that people don't clean them enough. How would you clean this sort of spaceship-like contraption? Any
surface that gets wet needs to be wiped down and occasionally soaked to get rid of lime scale. And so to do that on the Dyson, you have to pull a lot of it apart. Already the stuff that you've seen, you pull off the fan loop.
Yeah.
You then have to turn this little fairly stiff tab, wiggle this guy off, reach in here, pop that little guy off. All of these get their own separate soak or scrub. This reservoir here also gets a scrub. This fan blade has to come off, and this is difficult enough that I may not be able to do it. We got it. So that comes off. Okay. Then you wipe all this down, and then you put it all back together.
Do you need to clean the inside of this tank?
You're supposed to. So you soak it in like a vinegar solution.
Oh, okay.
But because of that small hole, you really can't reach in to scrub anything. It's just like a passive cleaning.
It feels stressful to me.
Stressful enough that a lot of people probably won't do it.
What bad things could happen if you don't clean your humidifier as often as you should?
You can get something called humidifier lung. This is yes, it's an actual medical condition. It's essentially an allergic reaction to bacterial or mold growth, in the wet parts of the machine.
It does sound like a cyborgian disease, but now that we've sort of cleaned this humidifier, how would we put it all together? But you say that there's a humidifier that is better in almost all aspects in terms of ease of living with it.
Yes.
Let's check that one out.
Let's do it. Top pick, the Lavoie LV600H, henceforth known as the Lavoie.
The Lavoie. Got it. That's much easier.
Much easier, yes.
Yeah. So what about the Lavoie is better than the Dyson?
Number one, the tank is very large. It's 6 liters, twice the size of the Dyson's, and that gives you, in our testing anyway, we routinely got more than 24 hours of humidification out of a tank. So it makes it much easier to schedule. You're less likely to let the tank run dry and have your humidity go back up. It's also a lot easier to refill. That's the task you do every day. You just pop this off, put it aside. The tank comes off. And then at the sink, first of all, it lays
flat. Bottom, yeah.
It lays flat and stable, so you can put it on the bottom of your sink. You can put it on your counter if your faucet, reaches over to the counter. And then you just open it up. And again, compared to the Dyson, whose fill hole is, basically no bigger than my finger, I can actually get my whole hand inside.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
So you could scrub around if you
can scrub around. But even just on filling, you really don't have to be that careful. You just turn on your faucet and walk away.
And so this humidifier doesn't have a fan.
It does
like
not.
the Dysons.
It does
Is
not.
that a bad thing?
It's not. I tested both machines in my apartment a couple winters ago and found that there was absolutely no difference between
wow.
the Dyson with a fan and this thing without in terms of the evenness of the humidification from corner to corner in the room, the level of humidification, or even the speed of humidification.
Well, it doesn't have a fancy hole on top, but it's not ugly.
No, it's not ugly.
So how much does this cost?
Currently this costs about $78.
Oh, okay.
The Dyson, the MSRP is $500, typically sells for $400.
So Tim, if I'm in the market for a humidifier, I'm probably better off with the Lavoie, but not the Dyson.
Absolutely. The Lavoie in particular, much easier to use than the Dyson, much easier to clean, much easier to refill, runs for 24 hours, and costs a quarter as much. So it's a fairly easy choice.
Well, I'm sold.
Very good.
As are my very chapped lips. Welcome to our video on the Dyson humidifier.
Exactly.
It's got a hole in it.
Very come hither moment.
Not much
you know?
else.
Exactly.